Hello all. It's a nice stormy day out, and all my chores are done. The pets are sleeping, so I thought I'd do something a little creative today. Now, I don't typically do this. It's a little different than usual, but it's because I don't have any real desire to draw lately. So I thought, well, maybe I can do some other kind of process video, and I can show a little bit about my pre-writing process instead. I don't usually use the computer for this sort of thing. I usually do all this by hand because I like the tactile manipulation of throwing things down with my hands and drawing and connecting them with lines. But I thought to show it, I can use freeform here on the iMac to explain, or the MacBook, to kind of show how I throw ideas together and develop a story. Well, they're not even drawings. Usually I draw my pictures of my characters when I'm doing this by hand, but since I'm on freeform, I just use the weird Apple playground thing to create a couple faces of the characters. Anyway, the story that's been pulsing in my head lately that just keeps bubbling to the surface is a prequel to another story of mine, which is called Pierre Emmanuel Save the Solar System. So I'm gonna just throw that idea down. In a text box, and set it over to the side here. That's the title, and that's the main idea. These are the two main characters, Seth and Dolly. Seth and Dolly were villains in the original story, who had a great deal of distrust for each other. So I kind of want that to be one of the themes here. And I'll throw that down. This story is set around, how do I do that? Around 10 years prior. So we'll do that, and then, so what I usually do, this is typically what I do, I just throw down ideas and then start arranging them over time. So let's see, our story set 10 years prior. So that means I kind of want to note some of the differences from the original story. No sentient robots. Many factions still in development. What this means is the groups of characters, like the pirates and corporations and whatnot, are not quite what they were just yet in the original story, so I got to try to keep that stuff in mind. So I'm throwing these over to the side here. Now I'm not sure, can I add a shape to it? No, I can't. I'd love to add a border to the story, to these things, but I'm not sure if I can. You can add connectors, which is pretty nice. If you want to draw a line between them, things like that. But right now, it's not necessary. Anyway, 10 years, no sentient robots package still developing. So, the theme of this is a growing distrust. Seth and Dolly are a pair of grifters. In the original story, they're a part of a smuggling ring, but before they joined that group, they were a couple of just young scam artists, con artists. So let me write that down. This is before they were before joining Lily Bontini. Two young scam artists. Also, the world is very different. The main setting, the city of Metropolis, doesn't exist yet. So we have to start thinking about that. Two young scam artists, Seth and Dolly. Now, the idea is, because it's a prequel, I do want to reference events that are described in the first story, but kind of explain them. Not all of them. I don't want to do the Solo thing where they had to explain absolutely everything in the previous, in the Star Wars movies, but there are a couple events that I do want to have in there, so I'm going to toss those down. We'll say, development of mining on Ganymede. Because one of the ideas in the original story was that a group of space pirates takes over the moon of Ganymede and gets their weapons from Seth and Dolly, who are weapons arms smugglers. So, but that hasn't really taken hold yet. In this part of the story, humanity is just starting to develop mining on that world. So we're gonna have that going on. Sentient robots still in development. It's another idea. See, this is something else. Robots were a number of sentient robots, or actually a number of major characters in the original story. But going back 10 years, I didn't want that to be in existence. I had another prequel, which was about 5 years before that. Actually, maybe even a little further. No, it's about 5, 6 years. Another prequel to Pierre Manuel, which is called The Last Loss of Jeannie Svensson. And they didn't have sentient robots at that point. They were still developing the personalities, and they were starting to speak and interact with people through computers, but they didn't have their own bodies. So that's not happening yet. And we're going back a little further. So these are ideas that I want to keep in mind. And in fact, they probably are all related to this. So manufacturing still developing. So let's make this an overarching idea here. And we'll put all this over in this category just to kind of describe what's going on. Kind of put those ideas, keep those ideas organized over there. This is the prequel, so the story set about 10 years prior. Mining is still developing, sentient robots are still developing. Actually, yeah, that's kind of redundant now. Let's say, we'll even say the space pirates not yet in space, because they don't have many places yet. Many places have not yet been colonized. There's not a lot of industry in outer space, so the space pirate groups like the Mendelssohns and the Grigoris haven't quite gotten out there. So, but that doesn't mean they can't be a part of it. Now let's think about this. Development of mining on Ganymede. One of the companies that was being developed there is called Ganymede Mining Concern, it used to be a bunch of smaller companies that merged together. I didn't describe that in the story. It's just a basic general idea because it wasn't really critical to the plot. However, I did reference a company called Setaforge and how it was a pretty big company that was whose head of logistics was a pretty important man. So we'll mark down Setaforge as an important. And actually, you know what? I have a better idea. Let me try this. Because I usually just write this stuff down, I'm not used to all the symbols. So let me see here. This is a company. Let's see here. What would be a good symbol for just a big-ass corporation? Let's see. I kind of like that big building, although I'm not sure if that stands for something else. This will do. And we'll just write Setaforge on top of it. Get rid of that, and we'll say Setaforge over here. And we will also now Setaforge was meant to be a company that heads up like mining equipment, and so at this point in the story, at this point in the world's history, rather 10 years prior to the original story, we will say that Setaforge is developing flying ships. And actually self-flying ships. Self-flying mining craft. Magnetic rakes, drills. ECT. Now, I'm going to have to do some research to see what kind of speculative technology would be used for that sort of thing. Not that it's a huge critical detail to the story, it's more about the characters. But just for the sake of plausibility, I will probably do some research. In fact, I think I'll do that right now. Let's look up speculative mining on Ganymede. I actually looked this up earlier, but I didn't really go into too much. So I'll do a search, and the AI result shows a summary of some of the things they found. Speculative mining on Ganymede focuses on extracting water and ice for life support and fuel, as well as mining its core for metals like iron, nickel, and silicates. Nuclear power is essential for energy, with bases likely built underground or buried in ice to shield against Jupiter's radiation. So, we can keep that stuff in mind. Let's just slap some of those ideas down into the story. It may not be critical, but nuclear powered bases underground. Using Water and ice for fuel. Again, not super critical, though the idea of them sending self-flying craft from Earth to Jupiter opens up a possibility for theft, for graft, for corruption, for people with sticky fingers. So I should probably also add some symbols for that. Let me see here. Science. Do we have a planet? Oh, I kind of like that. Let's put the moon and call it Ganymede. Can I add the name to it? No, I can't. Can I, please? Can I? That won't let me. Come on, come on. It won't let me type. Oh, well. Oh, I wanted to do a, but I can do it another way. Let me add another one here. Science. Is there a picture of Earth? Give me a symbol for Earth. Come on, you gotta have a symbol for Earth. No, how about places? Yeah, there we go. I got a symbol for Earth here. So we got Earth. And we will say that this stuff is going between there. I don't like that. That's annoying. Just move it. What I think I'll do, let me do it this way. Let me add some over here. Ganymede, and then we'll group the two. Now I can just drag it like that. It's a lot easier. And we will create a connector between the two. Showing that things are traveling between the two. And there are probably a lot of other companies involved in this trip, but let's say that Setaforge is the singular one for the sake of the story. We don't want to get too complicated. We'll keep Setaforge going on there. Now, who runs Setaforge? I don't know yet. Originally, in the original story, we had a character named Ben Schuler, who was the head of logistics. So what I will do is I will mention him. We'll just slap down an idea and say that maybe he's Ben Schuler. Because he could become a character that we'll use later. Oops, I had an extra one there. Actually, let me try that again. Let me try with the symbols here so that we can keep it simple. How about people? We just, I don't know, some guy. Can I add him into that? It's a little large. I don't like it that big. But that's okay. We can do it like this. How about this? Just group them. So we got a character named Ben Schuler who runs logistics. He became the head of logistics. He may not be the guy in charge, but perhaps he's a point of contact. Perhaps he's a point of contact with Seth and Dolly, or maybe someone else. See, the idea is that Seth and Dolly are small-time. They're small-time con artists. I still haven't figured out a scam that they could be running, but it could be something involving colonization, because mankind is colonizing. So let's see here. Rapid colonization. Land rush. So people are colonizing and trying to establish industry on Ganymede and other places. Ganymede will probably be the primary one because that is the big center. The Jovian system is a big setting in the Pierre and Manuel, say, the solar system. So that's going on. But who's trying to get over there? A bunch of different companies, a bunch of different things. And obviously, the title suggests that there is a very dangerous cabal of bankers who are profiting off of this somehow. Now, again, Seth and Dolly, being small-time grifters, have to happen into this. They have to happen into this somehow through one of their own scams. So I'm thinking that they will present themselves as loan sharks, or rather, not loan sharks, but land salespeople. People who will, let's see here. And this is just an idea. I don't know if this is really what we'll go with, but the scam, offering land to pigeons with low prices rates. But lots of secret charges. So that will be something that they can be doing. They can be scamming people into saying, hey, we'll give you a parcel of land over on this moon or this place, and you can get in on it early. And maybe there can be some, you know, let's see, like, what else could they say? Like, get in early. Let's put a quote around it. Get in early. Before terraforming is complete. Values skyrocket. Because that makes sense. A lot of them have not been terraformed yet. Terraforming technology to create an atmosphere, to add an ecosystem, to yeah, you know what? Let me put that on there. Because in the, again, in Pierre Manuel, even Ganymede was created, was terraformed. It was terraformed to function as sort of a desert biome because of how rocky and arid it was. They didn't want to change it too much, but they still added a sort of ecosystem to it that was livable, just harsh. So it became a mining, because it was a mining planet, they wanted it to be solely for industry with very little in the way of residential luxuries. But it ended up being taken over by the space pirates called the Gregories. They ended up taking over the Union there and what's the word? Subsuming the whole operation until it was completely corrupt. Now, that obviously hasn't happened yet. Set of Forge is still legitimate. Ganymede mining concern hasn't yet been established. There might be a company that right now Set of Forge is just sending ships back and forth between Earth and Ganymede, self-flying ships that are collecting small amounts or reasonable amounts of materials and metals and bringing them back. That's still in the process. It's a good start, but people are trying to get out there. So Seth and Dolly, let's say that they are working together to fool people into paying for land that they end up just disappearing on them. Let's see here. That's just a guess. I mean, let's see. Vanish. And that's sort of their thing. They go from town to town, from pigeon to pigeon, and take the money and run. But how would that get them in trouble? Let's see, how would that get them involved with a greater scheme? Perhaps one of the pigeons knows someone else. Let's see, let's add another character, maybe Ben Schuler. Let's put Ben Schuler, well, Ben Schuler's over here, but let's create another pigeon. Let's, I don't know, let's grab this one over here, and, oh, actually, you know what? This is grouped, right? Let's just, can we duplicate it? Yes, we can. Let's duplicate it, get in there, change the name. I don't know, random pigeon. We'll just say, I don't know, Bill Gardner, random pigeon. And we'll say that this guy pull the scam. We'll say that Seth and Dolly pulled the scam on the wrong person. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that Bill Gardner is a dangerous person, but we'll change that. Oops, how do I change that? Oh, there we go. Good. He's on the wrong person, and let's attach that to. Oh, hey, look out there! Don't want to attach the name. Let's just attach to the edge. I'd love it if I could add a border to this. I don't know if I can. I don't think I can. Autofill. No. Can I do that? No, I can't. I don't think I can. Now, what's this? Double-click points to toggle in straight and curved lines. Oh, okay, that's something else. I don't want to do that right now. Okay, but we can also add tables, photos, videos. We can even use the image playground if we want. I'm not going to add a table right now. This is like a sticky note for collaborative efforts. But right now it's mostly just text. This is what I do when I write, when I get down on my my pen and paper and my notebook. Obviously, I can't just drag things around after it's written, but I draw lots of lines and arrows and reconnect things and sort them together. If something belongs in another group, I'll just draw a line saying, oh, well, this should go over here, that should go over there. Sometimes I'll resort it. Anyway, Bill Gardner's a random pigeon. Maybe he's just a rich landowner. We'll say he's a rich landowner, and we will... But he's a friend of Ben Schuler. Why it went from there to there? Well, maybe that's not so. That's the center. That's why it just looks weird. So, yeah, so they pulled the scam the wrong person. Bill Gardner, random person, then over to Ben Schuler in logistics. Maybe. I mean, this is just an idea. It could be something else. Ben Schuler could be maybe a couple levels away. Maybe, now, what is the scam that they end up running into? Now, Ben Schuler might not like that his friend got caught, and he might pursue these two. Maybe Ben Schuler will go after them. Maybe he will say, all right, you two bastards, you went after my friend, and I don't appreciate it. Now you're going to do something for me. I don't know. It could be something like that. Maybe Ben Schuler has connections. Maybe he has connections with someone else. Maybe he has connections with the bank. Or maybe he has an interest in getting into Ganymede and he wants their help with some sort of corrupt scheme. I mean, I'm just throwing stuff down. In fact, let me just throw that down anyway. Ben Schuler may not be a good guy. Not a good person. For some kind of power play on Ganymede. So we'll attach that to him. Not a good person, looking for some kind of power play on Ganymede. Now, I don't know exactly. We're still just being very vague. I feel like maybe he's in conflict with someone else. Maybe he's got a competitor who's eyeing Ganymede, who wants to get a hand on it. What could that be? What could that be? Not sure yet. Let me, I don't like the size of this. It's a little big, so let's pull this over here. Now, maybe he's competing with another company. So let's shrink this down and make room for a competing company. But what company? What company? Let's make one up here. Let's duplicate that. And we'll name it, I don't know, Forge, another mining company. What could this be? Maybe not necessarily a mining company, but maybe a landowning company or a bank or something that's trying to purchase them. I'm not really sure yet. You know what? Who buys and sells land on a place that's not been assigned? Well, I could, you know what? I don't know all about this, so let's go and do some research. Let's see here. Who sells parcels of land in a land rush? Or who has historically? Let's see. Historically, the United States federal government has been the primary entity selling or distributing parcels of land through land rushes. These events involve opening previously restricted land, and often former Native American reservations or unassigned lands to homesteaders on a first arrival basis. General Land Office, Native American tribes, federal government as seller. Well, both of these are both difficult to say because we're talking about other planets here. Now, in Pierre and Manuel's Save the Solar System, Earth has a centralized government, and the other colonies and other places start developing their own governments. They start developing by planet as opposed to nations. So at this point, 10 years earlier, it's not really clear how I want this to work. I don't want to get too complicated because it's not super important to the plot. And also, it's just not that fun to research. And there's no Native Americans, there's no aliens on Ganymede. It's completely uninhabited. There's no terraforming, so there's no one to buy it from. But how do you decide? How do you decide who gets what? You just get there and throw down stakes and say this is mine? How is this determined? So it may be that Earth's government has to develop a new kind of land ownership, method of determining land ownership. So let's try that. Speculative land purchase. Actually, let's try land purchase procedure on other planets. Let's see if we find anything. Maybe someone on sci-fi has written this sort of thing, and I can kind of build off of it. Let's see. Extraterrestrial real estate. There's already an entry about it. No legally recognized procedure exists for purchasing speculative land on other planets. 1967 Outer Space Treaty explicitly forbids national appropriation of celestial bodies and prohibits private ownership claims. While the 1979 Moon Treaty bans private ownership, it has been ratified by only 18 countries. Major spacefaring nations have not ratified it, leaving a legal gray area. The Space Settlement Prize Act suggests a future framework where governments could recognize property rights for private entities that establish permanently inhabited settlements. Now that's interesting. The Space Settlement Prize Act could recognize property rights. All right, let's see. Extraterrestrial real estate. Claims of land ownership on other planets, natural satellites, or parts of space. Most claims on extraterrestrial real estate have not been recognized by any authority of no legal standing. Some private individuals and organizations have claimed ownership of celestial bodies such as the moon, and have been involved in selling parts of them through certificates of ownership. Oh, that's another big scam that Seth and Dolly, that's exactly what they could do. Martian deeds. And you know what? There's a cute name right there. There's a cute name we could use for that. Let's go. We'll call them Ganadeeds. You could say that maybe they're selling to business people too. Maybe they're selling bits of land from Ganymede that don't really exist, that are completely phony, but people who don't know better could fall for that. There's a scam right there. There's a scam that could work. And Bill Gardner could be some kind of a, I don't know, what could he be? We'll say he's a doctor or something. Ah, whoops, didn't mean to do that. That's weird. Okay. Pigeon, doctor, speculator. Not too bright, in other words. Doesn't know what he's getting himself into. There we go. Put it over his heart. There we go, like that. That's better. Yeah, that's fine. Anyway, actually, I don't like it being completely connected. Let's do it like this. There we go. The edge of the graphic. That's better. I'm getting a little too into this. Usually I do this by hand. Anyway, let's say he's rich. He's relatively wealthy. He's got wealthy's probably the wrong word. He's just a doctor. He's just a guy, upper class guy, who wants to get in on this thing. He wants to get in on this land rush that's going on in these other planets. They want to get a piece of it before it becomes too expensive. And he gets scammed. Finds out, Ben Schuler finds out about it, and he is trying to figure out how to get a bigger, or basically a monopoly, basically be the only logistics company in town going to Ganymede. Who is he going to compete with? Another logistics company? A landowning company? Or who the hell does that? I don't know. I'm not a science fiction writer. I'm a space opera writer. So I don't know how the system would work. So that's what we're doing a little research here. I'm going to find out how this would work. Private purchase schemes. Some individuals and organizations offer schemes or plans claiming to allow people to purchase portions of the moon or other celestial bodies. Though the details of some of the schemes' legal arguments vary, one goes so far as to state that although the Outer Space Treaty, which entered force in 1967, forbids countries from claiming celestial bodies, there is no such provision forbidding private citizens from doing so. Oh, that's a good argument. That's something that they could say. The treaty Article 6 of the treaty states that activities of non-governmental entities in outer space, including the moon and other celestial bodies, shall require authorization and continuing supervision by the appropriate state party to the treaty. The treaty does require to be authorized to the claimant's government. So, the Outer Space Treaty. Let's make a note of that, so that when and we can use these arguments, or maybe when they talk to Bill Gardner, they can put his mind at ease about this. So let's just say Outer Space Treaty. No problem with private citizens. It's getting mixed up there, so let's shrink it down there. Outer Space Treaty, no problem with private citizens. So maybe I'm picturing a scene where Seth and Dolly are talking to Bill Gardner, pulling the scam, and he's asking questions like, well, is this really legal? Can we do this? So let's you know what? Let's go over here and we'll add some of these ideas. Seth and Dolly scam Bill. What is legal? Seth says something like, yeah, sure. The Outer Space Treaty says the Outer Space Treaty only restrains corporate entities. Or what was the other term? I'll come back and fix it when I like. And then Dolly says, private citizens are perfectly okay. No, this is just an idea. This is just how it might go, and it gives me an idea for the scene. Scan Bill. So I kind of want to indicate that this is a specific scene. So let me make that. Yeah, how did they put it again? It says non-governmental entities shall require authorization, continuing supervision by appropriate state party to the treaty. State party. Okay. The man who sold the moon by Heinlein offers a portrayal of such plans or schemes to create the concept of a lunar republic. Huh. Larkin. Huh. Interesting. I don't want to rip off Heinlein. I don't want to go too much like it, but that gives me the idea of it. It might be something we can do. So I might have to read that and make sure I don't rip it off too much. Speaking of that, let me make a note of that on here. Actually, a man who sold the moon. I might have to read that so I can make sure I get it right. Or don't rip it off. I don't want it to be so similar that it just becomes like, you know, you just rip that off. So the man who sold my Heinlein, read it. Alright, anyway. So that's the scene there that we want to have. The scene there. And that hopefully that will kind of kick things off. I don't know what the name of this thing is. Let me change the name to, we'll just put competitor. There we go, competitor. Now this kind of gives us a place to start. We have these two young scam artists, Seth, who's a young child, who was a criminal since he was a young child, Dolly, who I still haven't decided when she got into it. I feel like she kind of lost her way. She got some good education, but she lost her way somewhere. She got hooked up with someone. I don't know who yet. I kind of want there to be someone in her past who kind of led her down that road or interested her in that road. So I'm going to add a couple notes there. Let's see. Criminal since childhood. Running contraband. For low-level hoods and gangs. That is the background that I... whoops, didn't mean to do that. There we go. That is the background that I came up with for Seth. I want that to be... I want that to be over here because I want it to be near him, but there we go. Let me make some room. And as for Dolly, I don't know yet. I don't know what she's entered the world after college. Mentor still alive? Now, I like the idea of her having a mentor that might still be in her life at this point. Maybe she gets killed. Maybe something happens to her. I don't know who yet. I like the idea of it being a mentor, a woman like her, a fellow businesswoman who is very tough, very serious, who is very smart. I don't know who yet. We'll see about creating a... Oops, actually I didn't want to do that. Let's create a symbol for her. And we'll just call her... Dolly's mentor. I don't know yet what her name is. I haven't decided. I like the idea of her being in the story somehow. Okay, but we'll see. We'll see where that goes. Dolly's mentor. We don't know what Dolly... We'll figure out more about her. But we can add some notes about it. It's things that I've slapped down here. Let me get this out of the way here. Actually, I kind of want it like that. There we go. Let's say... a businesswoman with illegal dealings, or illicit dealings, successful, retired. We'll say that she maybe was a drug runner, or maybe she was a weapons runner, or she did something behind her business, which inspires Dolly, which taught her something, which that sort of thrill. See, Dolly's thrill. Actually, you know what? Let's say she's still alive. Yes, Dolly's thrill is manipulation. She likes to trick people. She gets off on that rush of taking on a new personality, or lying to them, or tricking people, and getting them to believe her, and just having them in the palm of her hand. So let's make a note of that being her strength. I should say loves, but I think strength is manipulation. So she will flirt with guys, she will be seductive, she will be friendly, she'll be sweet, she can also be tough and dangerous and intimidating. But whatever it is, she gets people to do what she wants. She can get things out of people. That's what she's good at. She's an info gatherer. But she's also, that was what she was for the Bontinis, the smuggling ring info gatherer. Seth, on the other hand, was a bookie. I mean, he also ran contraband, but he was a bookkeeper and bookmaker. He ran bets for people. He would not only just run contraband and drugs, he also started getting good about bets and getting people becoming like a gambling, getting involved in gambling. But he also was good at managing money. But in this situation, Dolly starts taking that over. So let me put an extra note here. And Seth starts to resent that. At first he's okay with it, and in fact they're very successful. They end up scamming a lot of people, they're making money, but Dolly is so let's see here. Let's start talking about the results of the scam. We'll say that Dolly socks money away. Invests in fronts, or a front. We'll say a front. Now, in Pierre Manuel Save the Solar System, she was a restaurateur. Her fronts were a series of restaurants, where people paid cash, or just places where she could launder her money. But she also was quite good at that, because it was her way of being a hostess and being kind of simpering and obsequious and getting people to give her money and do the things she wanted to do. She loved it because she could go back and forth between being a legitimate business owner and an illicit gun runner, going back and forth to the Jovian system for the Bontinis, making lots of money. Seth was more of a bookkeeper and bookmaker. He still continued that for the Bontinis. He took that back over. But the thing is, Dolly got a little greedy, so she started selling things on the side, the stuff that she was supposed to sell and give back the money back to the gang. She was keeping for herself. So Seth started blackmailing her. But that's later. Seth and Dolly are not romantically linked, but Dolly does kind of start to like Seth at this point. She's a lot younger. She's not as what's the word? She's not as learned. She's not as wise. She still has a little bit of naivete about her, a little bit, which is probably because she became a criminal later in life. So I should make a note of that. She's a little more naive than Seth at this point. She's still learning. That's in a front. Now, so it could be, the front could be a diner. Now, in Genie, the Last Loss of Genie's events, and Dolly does make a cameo. She's not a major character. She just appears as a waitress in a diner that she owns. So at first I thought, is she a waitress or is she the owner? I figured, well, maybe she could be both. She could be the manager and she cleans things up because she doesn't have a lot of help. She's always by her doing the things, both things. She could be a manager, could be an owner, or she's just running as much as she can, wearing all kinds of hats. I hadn't really decided. I kind of like the idea of her doing everything, or at least trying to do everything, because she's on her own there. Still, and the diner was called La Première Étape, or La Première Étape, I think it called in French, which means the first step. So the idea was that it was her very first diner. Now, I don't know if she was associated with Seth at that time. Maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. Maybe she's, I'm not sure what point, but that depends on what happened in the story. And since we're still just throwing ideas down, maybe this time period will be different. Maybe we'll change that a little bit. I don't know. Maybe we can make this closer to Genie's story. We'll see. The idea is, though, that the future technology of these stories is really changing a lot, very rapidly, because of robots and artificial intelligence and things like that, helping with that sort of thing. So they could be, it could occur very quickly over a very small number of years. So let's see here. Sucks money away, I guess up front. Now, what does Seth do with his money? Seth kind of blows it. Seth is young, blows his money extravagantly. This is something that's referenced in Pierre Emmanuel. Dolly says, if you hadn't blown your money on liquor and whores, you'd be doing as well as I do, as well as I am. And now I don't know if he's going to do that here. Maybe he will, extravagantly. But he starts to trust her and rely on Dolly to do it right, because he thinks he can latch on to whatever success she develops. At least that's what I'm imagining. Seth allows, this is probably better, Dolly to build up plan so he can latch on later. He butters her up. Because Seth and Dolly are partners, and Seth knows a good deal when he's got it. So I'm guessing that he will really butter her up, tell her, great job, Dolly, you know exactly what you're doing. And then it would lead up to something a little bit surprising that I would say it's a spoiler, but this probably won't be made for years because of a project I'm currently working on, so I don't know. But this will... what's the word? I don't know what the right word is. When he butters her up with it... He butters her up eventually, saying something like, Dolly, I love you. I want her to do something that he really thinks is really cool, that he's impressed with. I'm not sure what. She could do something with the money that they're earning that will make their future look really bright. So I'm thinking I could do some kind. Let's research here. Banking scams. Let's see. Banking retirement scams. Let's see. Banking retirement scams involve fraudsters impersonating banks or financial institutions to steal seniors' savings by creating... Okay, that's not quite what I had in mind. How about... Not investment scams, but maybe... what is that called? What is it called when somebody... How about... funding scams? Trust scams? Let's try trust fund scams. Fraudulent schemes that exploit the complexity of trust to deceive individuals, promising tax avoidance, asset protection, or high returns, but resulting in financial loss and potential legal consequences. They target seniors, people with disabilities. That's still not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody to exploit Trust fund exploitation. Let's see here. Embezzlement. I might have to do some more research into this. Maybe she taps into a trust fund somehow, or creates a trust fund and then embezzles from it. Yeah. Constructive fraud, and can involve diverting funds, overcharging for services, civil liability. Trustees can be removed, suspended, or surcharged. Criminal sanctions, administrative penalties. See, this could work. This could work if Dolly insinuates herself into a trust fund by some operation. Now, what I'm thinking is that Ben Schuler pulls them into something. Okay, let me put this down here. Let's say ropes Seth and Dolly. Turn them in. Turn them in. He threatens to turn them in. I'll turn you in if you don't work for me, if you don't do this for me. I'm going to turn them in. His scheme is to maybe learn competitors' secrets. While sabotaging their operations. So, again, I gotta come up with a name for the competitor. I don't know. So he ropes Seth and Dolly into his operation, threatening to turn them in. His scheme is to learn competitor trade secrets while sabotaging the operations. Now, this is a good way to divide the labor between the two. We could say that Seth sabotage, because he's sneaky and he's destructive and he loves violence. Dolly, secrets. What I'd like to see is that Dolly gets involved with maybe the family of one of the competitors. Let's see here. Insinuate self into life of competitor family. Competitors, owners. Yeah. Owners. Pretends to be friendly. While seeking secrets. Learning about the company. And company connections. And Dolly's good at that. And I like the idea of her maybe feeling guilty about it. About lying and scamming. Maybe a kinder person in the family. Trusting person. Because Dolly does have a slight conscience. Because of her, again, probably because of her background. She probably has a little bit of kindness in her. So let's see here. Seth, now I don't know exactly what Seth could do. Seth could destroy shit. I don't know. Destroying vehicles. Detaining. Or kidnapping. We could say employees. I do like the idea of Seth kidnapping someone important and having to deal with him, keep him around. Well, maybe not VIP is the wrong word. Kidnaps important worker and must keep him around at hideout or something like that. I like the idea that they have to keep him around. They can't take him back to Ben Schuler. They have to keep this guy around who works the other thing. I'm not sure what he will be yet. We'll make up a character. Let's see here. Duplicate this and we'll So right now it's all just very vague because we don't know exactly yet, but the ideas are just springing from this. Kidnaps important worker and must keep him around at hideout. And he could be, I don't know, maybe very obnoxious or very unpleasant to be around, and it could be some comical ideas there. Oh, pardon me. Now, this operation, again, it's got to turn into something else. It's got to turn into something else. Dolly might find something else that is a serious problem. Now, there is one other character. There is one other character that I wanted to include in the story. Or maybe two even. I don't know, there's two, but one that is very important that I want to include. Because of the sentient robot still in development, I did want to have an attempt at a sentient robot being made that is a total disaster and is kind of gone crazy. Her name is Hale. Now, I want to... let's add... So let's go ahead and add her in. Actually, let's just duplicate this. Now, Hale, I haven't decided what that stands for yet, but we'll figure it out. I just like that name. Hale is a fucked up cyborg. Didn't mean to put in all caps. Her mind is a failed experiment at creating a sentient robot. Fractured psyche. Unpredictable. Violent behavior. Now, originally I thought Hale would just be like a crazy robot for no reason. But I like the idea of her being a failed experiment and kind of being a tragic figure. Her mind is just a storm of thoughts and bad programming that's constantly swirling, and she can't make sense of it. So she's constantly searching for parts and for clothes and for pieces that will help her to figure out who she is. But she's also she's full of rage, and she's easily set off, and she will kill anyone who angers her. And I liked the idea that she might be manipulated into working for someone who can give, like maybe the competitor is a robotics company. Maybe the competitor, instead of using self-flying, is also developing things that are using artificial intelligence in a different way. Maybe they want to use, instead of human workforce, they want to use a robotic workforce. That's not a bad idea. So let me try that. And maybe Hale is one of their failures, is one of their prototypes that didn't go right. All right, we're running out of room here, so we're gonna have to move all this stuff over a bit here. Okay. Aiming to use robot labor. Developing. Actually, let's put artificial psychological technology. All right, let's say developing tech to create artificial personalities. And that's the failure. That's the mistake that goes wrong with Hale. Hale is screwed up and fucked. She's just crazy, and she's dangerous. And maybe they sick Hale on Seth. I had the idea of Seth being being pursued while he's trying to do one of these operations, and Hale is sicked on him to go and just to stop him, and she's freaking dangerous. But Dolly, maybe at some point, let's just put these notes down about her, because we don't know. I don't know when or where we're going to do it yet. Okay. Pursue Seth during a sabotage operation. Her tragic story. uncovered by Dolly. And that would make sense, because Dolly is in the owner's family's house. Oops, nope, wrong. There we go. That would make sense, because Dolly is learning about what's going on at this competitor. I gotta come up with a name for it. What would be a cool name for a robotics company that's trying to move into space? I don't know. I can't. I'm not sure yet. I should probably work on that, but I'm not sure yet. Anyway, so we've got all that. We've got Hail. Hail comes from this robotics company. They both have different aims for trying to get to Ganymede and develop mining there. Let's see here. I should add another note here about what exactly they're doing. To develop all-purpose robotic labor force. So they basically just want to create a race of slaves. They want to create a bunch of robots that will terraform the place, build settlements, do all the mining, and bring everything back to Earth. Setaforge is thinking more like, no, let's they just don't want that. They want to have all the business themselves. They don't want robots doing all the work. They want to do it themselves. So Ben Schuler hires or forces Seth and Dolly to find out about the company. Now, where does the banking cabal come in? Not sure yet. The banking cabal could come in maybe when Dolly discovers something else that's going on, or maybe they both discover something else is going on. What is going on? Who is involved in this? What agency? What would be involved in a land war? What historical banks involved in land sale scams? Banks are critical targets and potential safeguards in land sale scams, often serving as the final checkpoint where fraudulent wire transfers can be intercepted. Fraudsters frequently use money mules or limited liability companies to bypass bank verification when the seller's name does not match the bank account details, complicating detection of fake deeds and stolen identities. If fraud is discovered before the closing is finalized, the FBI and banks can terminate the transaction to prevent the transfer of funds. Banks have frozen funds transferred by scammers, holding the money in a separate account while investigations are completed. Wire transfer risks. Scammers often insist on immediate wire transfers to avoid scrutiny that comes with traditional checks or escrow services. Despite these safeguards, title companies often bear the brunt of financial losses because the property owners face a legal quagmire trying to unwind fraudulent sales. So, interesting. So we're seeing that the banks are typically involved in safeguarding these things. What if one of the banks, or a major bank that's involved in these sorts of deals, was not doing their job? What if they were turning a blind eye, letting transactions occur that aren't supposed to? And we have new villains that are really bad in the middle of that. So that's an idea. That's an idea we can throw down here. And that's where the really big bad guy comes from. I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided who that is. I'm deciding that there's a little group of bankers who are allowing this stuff to happen. So let's we'll just say Earth National Bank or Earth Planetary Bank. We'll call it that. Could be yeah, let's call it First Earth Interplanetary Bank. And oh, actually, it should be a business. But that name won't fit, so we'll group this. There we go. So we'll group this. First Earth Interplanetary Bank. What they're doing is monitoring transactions for land purchases, interplanetary travel, planetary deeds. So that's just an idea. I mean, we'll worry about the details later. Let's just throw this idea down. Monitors transactions for land purchases, interplanetary. You know what? Let's just keep it simple. Interplanetary land purchases, or off Earth, or extraterrestrial. Monitors transactions for extraterrestrial land purchases. Corrupt officials, or who would let's again historic. Well, let's do more research. Bankers caught in fraud schemes, or investment. Should it be investment? Let's say transaction scams. Oh, it needs to confirm that human beings. I'm doing too many searches. Okay. Several bankers and financial professionals have been implicated in major transaction-related frauds, including unauthorized trading, money laundering, and account manipulation. Notable cases include Jerome Kerville. Looks French. Societe, whatever, who executed $50 billion in unauthorized trades, resulting in massive losses and 3-year prison sentence. 3 years? Hernan Arbizu, a former J.P. Morgan Chase vice president, arrested in Argentina for laundering client funds through offshore accounts and exploiting lax internal controls. I like that. Lax internal controls could be it. Other incidents involve institutional failures. UBS trailer Kweku Adobali caused $4.5 billion in losses through off-the-book trades, leading to 7-year imprisonment. Goldman Sachs paid $2.9 billion to settle charges to the 1MDB scandal, where bribes facilitated illicit fund transfers. Huh. So any of those I could base something off of. I can sci-fi it up or change it a little bit and try to expose it. But the details of it aren't super important. The details might be important in the way that they're uncovered. How Dolly discovers it. How does she discover it? Okay. Billion. We'll keep it general right now. Billions in fraud. A scheme uncovered by Dolly. The details of it will have to be explained. I don't know what they will be yet, but Dolly will uncover it through her the work that the robotics company is doing. So let's put this over here. Competitor involved in false transactions or false or hidden transactions with First Earth Interplanetary Bank. It's just an idea. Just an idea. The question is, how does she find it out? Who's involved in it? What's the secret? We don't know yet. So we can move that down here and try to... So that's that. We got that. Monitors transaction, billions of fraud, a scheme covered by Dolly. Now that means we have to have a villain from the bank. Who will it be? Actually, let's do it this way. But who is this? Assistant General Trader. Massive losses when we vice president. He could be a vice president. I don't know. We'll say vice president. Vice president. And he... Leader and... Leader and organizer of extensive fraud schemes. Now, I haven't decided much about him. I don't know what he will be, but he will be the real bad guy. Ben Schuler's a bad guy, some of his family's a bad guy. Maybe the guy in charge of the robotics company is a bad guy. Haven't decided yet. I will, let's create a character. Actually, let's make it a woman. You know, yeah, let's too many men in this story, so let's make her a woman. Let's say, president. I don't know yet, but I mean, I kind of want Yeah. You know what? The president could be a woman. Maybe her husband. Oops. Is a kept man, and he never gets much attention from his wife anymore. And Dolly gets involved with him, and he's a nice guy, but he's also he falls for her. He kind of wants to tell her the secrets and tell her what's going on and how he's not too happy with the way his wife's behaving and the way she's treating him. You know, there could be an unhappy marriage. So let's go with that. It's kind of easy. Money and technology. Money, no, we'll just say money is separating, is pushing wedge. Just an idea. Maybe they have, and this would be kind of a funny detail, have a robotic dog or a robotic servant, not sentient. Because that's what their business is. They have to, you know, be conspicuous about it. They have to have it in their house. And while Dolly hangs out with them and learns about them, she could see these things and see the problems that are developing, see what kind of life they're living, and either feel, maybe she could feel guilty about scamming them, or she could also feel a little disgusted about them. You know, a little bit of both. Now, while Dolly's going through this emotional turmoil, Seth's having a grand old time. Seth has no problem with blowing things up. He likes it. He has no problem with violence. He has no problem with intimidation. Dolly is a little more risk averse. She doesn't like to kill in cold blood because partly because she dislikes violence, but also because it's risky and she doesn't want to be exposed. Seth doesn't care. He will do loud and ridiculous things. But though he is mostly sneaky, he's also stealthy. He's not a fighter. He's not a big buff guy, but he will sneak around. But he likes violence. He likes danger. He likes hurting people. That's the kind of person he is. So he's having a great time, but he's also got to deal with. He's inviting trouble by attracting the attention of Hale and keeping an eye on the worker. So he has his story going on here. So they both have their own missions going on. Let me fix that. There we go. They both have their own missions going on, their own little things going on, their own little challenges and difficulties and conflicts that they're going on at the same time, in parallel. So that's the situation that they get into, mostly through Act 2. However, the real thread of what's going on here, the real thing that is beneath all this is growing mistrust. One of the most important plot lines in Pierre and Manuel Save the Solar System was that Seth and Dolly have great what's the word? There's a word for it and I can't remember it. Not misanthropy, not antagonism. They just don't like each other. They're always bickering. They're always at each other's throats. And that's because their relationship, they used to be partners in grifting, and now they see this thing, the situation they're in. I wanted there to be growing moments when they start not to trust each other. When Seth starts to show resentment. Of Dolly's easy manipulation. Seth's big accusation toward Dolly is that she has always had it easy. He feels that Dolly's good looks make it easy for her. Or make a criminal life easy for her, let me say it that way. Now, at first he doesn't care. At first he feels like, this is great, I can use her. But as he struggles, and she's living in, okay, yeah, Dolly's reports cause resentment. Seth thinks that Dolly's and I would like that to be a scene. There should be a scene with that, where they're talking on the phone or something. Hints of resentment. Or actually, yeah, let's call it this. Seth calls Dolly. Resentment. He's like, sounds like you got it pretty easy over there. Yeah. Babysitting. Babysitting that kept man. Petting that robotic dog. No, oh, whoops, wrong one. I don't know where to go. What? Hey. Okay, there we go. That was weird. I don't know what happened there, but anyway, let's get back to it. Sounds like it got pretty easy over there. Babysitting that kept man, petting that robotic dog. And then Dolly... Anytime you want to swap places, I'm game. Yeah, I like that. Kind of sarcastic and angry. It's like, hey, this is what I'm good at. This is what you're good at. You're gonna get mad at me over this? This is where we are. But it's building. It's building. And Dolly... annoyed at the insinuation. And... I feel like there should be something else. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Growing attraction towards Seth. Now, when Dolly impresses Seth... Whoops, didn't mean to do that. We'll say money building scheme. A way for them to take the money that they're earning and putting it into something. Maybe putting it into something in the bank. Maybe putting their into a bank account she gains access to via kept man passive information? Not sure yet. She's gonna find a way to say, hey, even though we're not making money off of this, we're being forced to do this, she finds a way to make money off of it. We're being forced to do this. Dolly finds a way to profit. This is how she stumbles into the banking scheme. So again, we don't know the details. This is just the idea of how it happens. We're just trying to establish a logic, a flow for the plot here. So, but anyway, she impresses Seth with this. And Seth says, I love you. Or in a weird way, Seth says, Dolly, I love you. Dolly naively wonders if this is true. Now, at this point, Seth is still a handsome guy. And Dolly is a pretty young woman, and they spend a lot of time together, and they work together, and so there's a part of her that says, wow, does he really like me? But, so she's frustrated, she's confused. So she's dealing with that. Dolly doesn't really, I mean, Seth doesn't really love Dolly, of course. He's starting to hate her, and he's starting to wonder, he also starts to wonder if Dolly is really splitting their profits. Starts questioning. So the other thing is, by entrusting Dolly to put the money away for them, he doesn't know how much of it's going to him and how much is going to her. And so Dolly argues with him, and they argue about it. So let's make another scene over here. Dolly about whether she is depositing money fairly. Maybe there can be like an off-planet account. I like that idea. Yeah. Let's into an off-planet instead of an offshore account, an illicit off-planet account she gains access to via Kepman's information. That might work. That might work. So they fight about it. Seth questions Dolly about whether she's distributing deposit money fairly. And then things really go bad. Things really go bad. And Seth is making money through a laundering scheme. Through a diner front. Now, this is something that I'm not sure about. I think Dolly should have set this up beforehand. So it's not sensible. Okay, so let's make a note about this. Seth's anger and jealousy and envy toward this is not sensible. Dolly, we'll say that Dolly set this up. Dolly sets this up early in the story. The dividends start coming in, and he feels betrayed. Even though Dolly told him about it, and he didn't care. So, this leads to the big surprise. Well, let's put this over here. It's Dolly. Seth wants to control Dolly. Assaults her with a base, so he finally loses his temper and reveals his true colors. And he assaults her with a baseball bat. He strikes her in the head. Strikes her in the head and leaves a bad scar. And this scar is referenced in the first story, Pierre and Manuel, and Dolly says to Jeannie, she says, "You see this scar? A man who told me he loved me did that." And I didn't want to say that it was Seth. In fact, I wasn't even sure if it was Seth at the time. I was trying to make a point that she resents the idea that people think being pretty makes her life easy. So she's telling Dolly, or Jeannie, rather, hey, you know, being pretty makes men want to control me. It makes them want to possess me. It doesn't make them respect me. It's made my life harder in many ways. So this is the big surprise. I wanted it to be the explanation of what that happened. She misunderstood Seth's feelings. She thought he really loved her, and then he loses his temper. She reveals his criminal side and hits her with a baseball bat. Now, they still continue to work through this because they have no choice. But that is a very marked and important point in Dolly's life. So I'm going to have to cut things short here because but I think we've got quite a bit established, and I think that this also, this also kind of gives a portrait of how I plan a story out. I don't usually, again, this is not usually how I do it. I don't usually use a computer for it, but I do, this is how I try to throw things down, throw ideas down, and then figure out how they can connect. And then in time, I will take these ideas and rearrange them, reorganize them, and odds are a lot of it will change before it's done. Until I can develop scenes, I can develop sequences, I can develop acts. I'll have action scenes and then important moments, emotional moments that will make it work. And then I write the script. But I thought I'd share this with you because I thought maybe it'd be fun to share a process with you, and I appreciate you watching if you watched all the way through. If you're interested in writing, maybe this will be fun to you. This is just how I do it. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. There's not really a term for it. It's just how I do things when I start a story. I just throw shit down. And then I start moving the shit around until it starts becoming a real, complete story. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I hope you found this fascinating, and I will talk to you again soon.